evening, and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacy Johnson. Joining me tonight is Stephen, the constitutional conservative. Stephen, the independent
Yeah,
thinker. That's what I've been going too long.
Steven is one.
Keith, the
Hey, we're
constitutional
brothers.
Yep,
conservative,
We're interchangeable.
yes.
and my cousin Todd. Oh my gosh, I have been going too
Steven's
long.
a
1 week.
constitutionalist.
We are.
Right, 1 week, and I got them
Universal.
mixed up. All right, Hurricane Milton is burrowing down
Wow,
on Florida.
that's bad news.
Stephen and NASCAR, Vance and Wall stepped into this debate spotlight, and we'll discuss your thoughts. College football upsets this past weekend. New York City Mayor Adams turned himself in after being indicted. Will he remain in office? And how did your NFL team do last week? And more, if we can fit it in. First up, Stephen and NASCAR. Stephen.
Well, this week was really exciting. It was Talladega, and Talladega and Daytona. They're super speedways, and they're 2.5 miles long plus. And these guys running 200 miles an hour. At the end of the race, everybody is fighting for position, and this is what happens. I think there was 39 cars. There was 39 cars this past week. I think in this last wreck, I think 35 cars wrecked all at one time. It's the darndest thing you ever seen. So if you can go back and watch the last 5 laps of this race, it was crazy. So it's hard to know anything that's going to happen. It shuffled the field a little bit, but they have 12 people right now that's in the playoffs. There's 5 more races, and the next week's is Charlotte. It's 150, a basic cookie cutter kind of track, 1.5 miles. But they have for the playoffs, we have 8 people that are going to advance after next week, after Charlotte. So right now there's 12 of them. The cutoff line is after 8. So if you're at 9, 10, 11, 12, you really have to do well and to advance to the next level. And this is why it's fun. Even though everybody's not involved in the playoffs, everybody has a chance to win a race or to do well for their team or to help their teammate that's in the chase. So it's some people think, well, it's a limited playoff. Not everybody's involved, but everybody has a race. It's because everybody can advance their situation even if they're not in the playoffs, advance it for the next year and for their team and for everything else. So, and for you, if you want the Toyotas to win for the year, the manufacturer award, you want Chevrolet, you want Ford. So everything helps that you have. So this is really, really big. The first race they had this year at Charlotte, Bell won, and it was a rain-shortened race. So I checked with the weather. It's going to be 80 degrees, sunny all day. It's not going to be rain-shortened. And years ago, they had Kyle Busch. I think it was like 100 degrees that day, and he passed out after got out of his car and had to pass out. So this is going to be the most exciting time because this is when nobody's really friends. You still have to work with your teammates, but everybody's trying for the championship. It's all about the championship with 5 more to go. It's very interesting right now. And Talladega shook everything up because you never know with that track.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Do you want to talk about your college football first, or do you want to talk about your Washington Commanders?
Well, I don't have much for college right now today. I do like tech, but it's so much is going to be taken up by. Oh, then the rumors are that the Washington team is playing so well that if they continue along this way, it's going to help them change the name back to their 1937 name of the Washington Redskins. And there's so many Indian tribes, groups, millions of people that have signed petitions to get their name back. And I think that the success would be great because I can't find anybody that likes the name Commanders. They call them the Commoders, the Communists, anything else but Commanders. And Commanders is really, really cheesy. Whoever come up with it, I don't know. It's really horrible. So they're going to have to change the name. Maybe just go back to the Washington team or whatever, the Washington football team, if your feelings are hurt. But it's the team that is actually, Stacey, and let's go for this. The team that's actually a racist name is in Dallas, because years ago they would call they had the black guys that worked with horses. They would call them cowboys, because the men who worked with horses, they called them cattlemen, but they couldn't call the black guys cattlemen because they called them boys. So they called them cowboys. So that's the only racist name in football.
Okay. Say that again.
That back in the day when they had cowboys, they didn't call them cowboys. They called them cattlemen. But when the black people came and was working with the horses and stuff, they called them cowboys, because they couldn't be with the cattle. They had to. They couldn't be called a man, because they didn't call them. They called them. Everybody was, putting people down back then. So that's how they called them cowboys instead, and that's what the black people were called. So that's a racist name. Calling Redskins was never a bad thing, because the Indians called themselves Redskins. It was never racist. It was liberal white women that said it was racist.
Stephen, I actually don't know about that.
Right.
Honestly, I think I'm going to have to look that up. You're
Tom.
saying back in that time, they didn't call the
cattlemen. They called them cattlemen. Like when you worked with horses, you're called a cattleman. But when the black people worked with them, they called them cowboys.
Ask Todd. Todd knows.
I don't know. That's just something I saw. If it's wrong, I'm wrong. I hadn't heard about it either until recently.
Todd,
can you hear Todd?
Football,
yeah, but it's too many people talking all at one time. But I know you're used to that from the Jerry Springer show.
I used to like the Jerry Springer show.
I know. You fit right in.
Thank you.
Now, what were we talking about?
Tell Todd.
That's why I told him to repeat it, because I know you missed it.
Back in the day, this is what I've heard. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I'm not putting my name on it. I just heard it. Stacey said she's never heard it, but I just heard it recently.
Well, you probably got it from the dark web, right?
The darkest web. Mm-hmm. It's even a darker web than the dark web. They call it the darkest. They call it darkest web infinity. Mm-hmm. But they used to call people who messed with the cows, they called them cattlemen way back in the day. But when they had the black guys working with them, they called them cowboys. And I was saying that was a racist name for the football team to call them cowboys, because it was brought up that way.
Look at your boyfriend. He is
but the Redskins is what they would call each other. It was never Redskins was never racist. That's a made up racist term. It's not racist.
You don't know what you're talking about. I
don't know. I had never heard of it either, and that's what I would have said if you had told me that story. I would have said the same thing. I'm just telling you what I saw. I don't know if it's real.
Okay.
I'm not betting you any money on it.
You're too animated. And what is this? Are you trying to get him to marry you or something? I don't understand this.
Who? What?
Well, as we start the show, I just want to give a shout out to my cousin Jonathan. Jonathan, Todd's brother. Thank you for watching. Thank you for appreciating and liking our show. And we're thinking about you, and you know why. Hey, Johnny.
Oh, Stacey, after all that, I forgot to talk about the Washington team. What a team!
Talk about the Washington
what a quarterback!
Aren't the Chiefs still? What about the Chiefs? Aren't they still the Chiefs?
They're the Chiefs. Yeah, I don't know. I don't make the rules, and I don't make the names, and I don't change the names. I just kind of like things sometimes the way they are. But the Washington team, the Redskins, Daniels, the quarterback, he got picked in the second round, and he is everything that was advertised. I absolutely love him. He can throw on a dime. He can move around. He runs with no effort. I've never seen somebody.
And who is this?
Jaden Daniels, the quarterback for Washington.
Okay.
He came from LSU. He was selected second overall for the Skins, and he's like RG3. But twice as good. And RG3 was a beast. And he's bigger and stronger.
RG3 was not a beast. RG3 was not a beast.
No, RG3 was not a beast, but this guy is. The guy we have is.
Was just okay.
I gotta go. I got to.
No, RG3 was great before he got hurt.
I'll be back.
RG3 was
I
great
gotta
before he
go
got hurt.
shoot.
Oh,
Oh, wait,
I
look.
think Todd's
Hey,
sick.
Jonathan Davis, Todd's brother said, "Hey, y'all." So he'd
Hey,
like to welcome
Jonathan.
you.
Let Todd speak.
He doesn't want to talk to either one of you, to be very honest with you. He thinks you're both
What the
crackpots.
Washington Redskins are
Look,
4-1.
I was just talking, and then he couldn't stay still.
I'm still talking about my Skins.
Yeah, he was talking about his football team, Todd, and you know nothing
Okay,
about
I'm
football. Go
going to
ahead,
throw
Stephen.
up. I'll be
Sum it up,
back.
Stephen.
Yeah, it's just real quick. The Washington Redskins are 4-1. This is their best start since I think I've been alive. I've never seen anything like this. I've been a disappointed Redskin, commode fan, communist fan, whatever you want to call the Washington team. I've been disappointed for so long. For them to start like this is amazing. I love it. We're on top right now. The Eagles, I think, are 2-2 because they didn't play this week. Dallas is 3-2, and the Giants just won 2-3. We're not the NFL least. We're the NFL pretty much best right now. We have a whole good group of teams. And if the Skins don't do anything after this, and if they just puddle and everything happens, whatever, you know what? I'm never going to lose this feeling that they gave me right now. This is something that we haven't had. Stacey, you've had a Super Bowl. We've had a toilet bowl, and then we've had 100 toilet bowls.
Oh, you guys have won a few Super Bowls.
No, I'm talking about you had a Super Bowl since we've been doing this show. You won a Super Bowl just a couple years ago, right? Because you haven't. No, we haven't done anything. My son, he's advanced. He's advanced in years a little bit. He's not a little kid, and he said, "Dad, we're still Redskin fans. Can you tell me why?" Because I haven't seen anything. It's been so many. I don't want to tell his age. But he said, what are we doing? I said, they're going to come around. And now we have a quarterback. Now we have a team. And it is worth getting animated about because it's been a really, really long time. It's like Detroit doing better. It was like Houston doing better last year. It's like we've been through a lot. So this is really, really, really nice. Expectations. I didn't think we'd win 7 games. We've already won 4. I couldn't be any happier.
Pretty good. So do we want to talk about New Orleans Saints versus the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you want to talk about that game
from last night?
Yeah. I didn't watch it. I don't
care
about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, I took Kansas City to win because I don't think Kansas City is going to lose a game this year. One way or the other, they're going to win. And they do have a good team, and they do have a good defense, and they do have probably one of the best quarterbacks, but they have that 12th man. And that's the referees. And that's my son said last night. They have their own 12th man. That's the referees. And they do. And that's cool. Yeah, no, that's pretty true, rotten. Though. It's because like during this last Super Bowl, they never had a holding call on them. They never called hold. They never called hold on them. And then last night they called holding, and everybody in the whole world stopped on his tracks. Said, "Oh my God, they just called holding on Kansas City. They never called holding." So they do have that, but that's why I say they're not going to lose a game this year, and they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're gonna sit Miami down in that thing. They're going to do their own thing. They're going to be the first team to win 3 in a row. I do believe. Maybe they might lose one. I don't know. But if they're 5-0 now, they don't look like they're going to slow down. They don't need any players. They just lost Rice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they put out there. They just brought back a running back that they had in the Hunt. I think they had him in the 90s or something, and they brought him back. He made a touchdown, I think, on the first possession.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they could do anything they want. They got probably the best coach. They got a top 5 defense. They got a top 2, 3 quarterback. Not doing well in fantasy, but in real life he is. And they do get a lot of help at the right time. That's the biggest thing. They might get calls against them, but at the right time when they need it, like at the end of the game, they're going to get the call they need.
12th and 13th man then, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Stacey. That's exactly right. And that's cool. And if you know that and you bet on, like what I did, I knew it was going to be under. I knew the total was going to go under 44, I think it was. And I knew that Kansas City was going to win. That's an easy bet. I should have put all my money on it. That's a really easy bet. Because if you bet and they're at home, they're not going to lose at home. I don't care what happens. But the Saints, they never had a chance. I don't know what was wrong with Kamara. He didn't look very good. They're missing Hill, their tight end, and he's outstanding. He is great. He's like the multi-purpose guy on that team. He can do anything. So without him, that really hurt too. And being on the road, that hurt. So it was so easy. Just put a $10,000 on Kansas City at home against the Saints, and it's easy money. That's all
Well,
that is.
I'm glad. I'm not a Kansas City Chiefs fan because they beat the Eagles. I'm an Eagles fan,
Right.
and they beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl, so I'm not a Kansas City fan. And I don't like the New Orleans Saints because they try to beat the Eagles, even though we just beat them. And this week, the Eagles are playing at home, and they're playing Cleveland. It's going to be
Yeah.
a pretty good game. I'm sure Aguna will be there. It's a 1 p.m. game this coming Sunday. I won't be there, but I'm sure Aguna will be there.
There's no way.
Looking forward
There's
to us
no way
beating
you lose that
Cleveland.
game. There's no way
I
you
don't
lose
know.
that
Don't
game.
say that. Don't
No,
say
if,
that because
if
Philadelphia
did you
gets
see what
stupid.
Watson, the quarterback for Cleveland, Deshaun
Yeah, I know
Watson?
who Watson is.
Yeah,
He
but
used
did
to
you
be
see
with
him?
Houston, and he got accused of a bunch of sexual misconduct
Yes,
lawsuits.
but Stacey, late in the fourth quarter, did you see him walk off the field instead of running the play that the
No, I
coach
didn't
told him?
see that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have it here. He doesn't have it in his head. He just walked. The coach is screaming, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And they lost the game because
That is horrible.
Yeah, and he's got more
Yeah,
accusations.
I kind of feel sorry for him. Don't you feel sorry for him for a quarterback to just walk off the field like that?
I feel
Really
more sorry
him.
I feel more sorry for every lifelong Cleveland fan that has never had anything to cheer for. They put $250 billion into this man, and they don't have room for nobody else, and they have to pay him.
Not
And the coach,
250 billion. They probably put
I'm
250 million,
exaggerating.
not a billion.
Yeah, I was just exaggerating.
Oh,
If you
okay.
go put 250 million in this pile of crap, it might as well be $1 billion. Because
Now,
he's
how
awful.
did
And now he's not a pile of crap. He doesn't have it here. He does not need to be in public.
Okay.
He
So
hurts
let's
everybody.
talk about those. Let's talk about Nas's sorry team, the Falcons.
Falcons pulled it off this week. That was pretty
They
nice.
beat Tampa Bay. I watched that game
Yeah.
because my team wasn't playing. The Eagles weren't playing, so I watched that Falcons Tampa Bay game. And I was pretty surprised at the
Me too.
Falcons, the Dirty Birds of the South, pulling that off. They only won it by what? 6 points.
Yeah, at the last minute
Field
too.
goal.
I didn't think they were going. I had Tampa
They
Bay.
barely made it.
That was a Tampa Bay win all the way. Like Cincinnati was all the way against Baltimore, and they had about 10 points with 4 minutes to go, and they've been dominating the whole game. And I had Cincinnati because that was my big upset. And then Baltimore came back and won the game. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Bad beat.
So let me move on to politics. I want to move on to this J.D. Vance Waltz debate. And I want to do like we did last time. I want us to talk about what they have to say after they've said it. Let me play this.
Democratic Governor Tim Walz and Ohio's Republican Senator J.D. Vance tonight meeting for the first time.
First of all, let's start with the hurricane because it's an unbelievable, unspeakable human tragedy. I'm sure Governor Walz joins me in saying our hearts go out to those innocent people, our prayers go out to them, and we want as robust and aggressive as a federal response as we can get.
Senator Vance has said that there's a climate problem in the past. Donald Trump called it a hoax and then joked that these things would make more beachfront property to be able to invest in.
We have a historic immigration crisis because Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies.
This is what happens when you don't want to solve it. You demonize.
Okay. So start with Keith. That's not true that Vice President Harris started the immigration policy. First off, she's just the vice president. She's not the president. Second, before she was in office, she didn't do any policy for immigration. So Keith, how can Senator Vance say that?
Well, because she was deemed the czar by Biden, but I'll give you that. She wasn't initiating. I mean, she was the vice president, not the president. So, but then the president did authorize her to be the czar of the border. And that's true. That is true.
But isn't being the czar of the border is almost like saying she was a supervisor of a job where the rules are already in place? When people are supervisors of jobs, the rules are already in place. All they do is enforce rules that were placed there. They don't put new rules there. So
Right, but
Keith, go ahead.
yeah, she's but still, her policies do not contradict Biden. Biden is
They're
the one.
not her policies.
They're
Well,
the same though.
I said was her policies do not contradict Joe Biden's. They go the same direction because Joe Biden is the one who undid every good thing that Trump did on the border. And she is also sanctioning it. She goes along with that same
Yes,
policy.
yes, she does.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
does because she's the vice president. She has to. That's her
that's
job.
exactly right. Then that's correct, Keith.
Well, it's
Thank
not
you, Stephen.
correct. She enforces the policies that were laid out, but she did not initiate nor lay out those policies.
But
But
she
she
doesn't
has to
have
enforce them
different.
because that's her job.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
it's
she
no
took the
different.
job, and so she has to enforce the policies that Biden put in place.
Yeah, but
That's her job.
her policies are not going to be any different,
Yeah,
right?
she agrees
Well,
with the
you don't
policies.
know that. You don't know that, but
We do
okay,
we do know that, Stacy, because if her policies were different, she would already have changed them.
Thank you,
she
Stephen.
can't change them because she's the vice president.
She can
She can
influence.
change them.
She can
She
influence it,
can't change them because she's the vice president.
but
So
she.
you think she's
She,
going to make the
the
border
president can
tough?
change them,
You
but she
don't think she agrees with Joe Biden because Joe Biden said she's been with him every step of the way on every decision he's made.
Yeah. And remember, she's
uh,
California. She was
you
district
got
attorney
off
of California.
YouTube said, Keith, what does that say? What were what?
That's probably Nas or Aguna.
You gotta love YouTube. What does that say?
I
I
don't know.
can't read it. It's too small.
Okay, the
It's
next
like
one
that.
says, what were the good things Trump did at the border? You gotta love YouTube said, what were the good things that Trump did at the border?
I'll start with Title 42. 42 was an order, direct order from Trump to keep people waiting over in Mexico. And the Mexican government didn't want to cooperate at first, and then until Trump started saying, "Well, we're going to put tariffs on you in
Right.
Mexico," and all of a sudden
Correct.
Mexico said, "Oh, yes, sir, we'll do it." So they had to
Yeah.
have a waiting period over in Mexico before they could come here. So that should have satisfied both you people that don't seem to think that immigration is. You think the immigration should be continuous, but it should be lawful. It should be orderly. So that
Right.
is Title 42. But they
He
had
also built it. He also built as much wall as they would allow him to build
that's
too,
right.
but they stopped him every time he
Yeah,
tried to do more wall. They would stop
right.
him.
So that's
And
two.
he also
Well,
didn't fly. He also didn't fly him in.
That's
what's
two.
This
interesting
administration
about that
flies in
wall,
people.
excuse me, what's interesting about that wall is, according to news reports, and I'll try to pull this up, the materials to build the wall was not finished, so there were materials there to build it. Well, the United States government, the taxpayers paid all the money for those materials, and the materials are still sitting there. They're sitting
Right. Because
along where they should be built. They're
Yeah.
not being built. They're not being disposed of. They're
But
not
Joe
being
Biden,
sold. No one's buying
yeah.
them. And they have wasted taxpayers' money
Yeah.
to
Joe,
The
have all
left
those
did.
materials just sitting there.
Right. The
Joe
left did. The left blocked everything. That's what they
Yeah,
did. If
exactly.
Donald Trump was still in office, there'd be a lot more wall up there, and there would be a lot fewer people in this country if Donald Trump
But you
had
just
not
said
had his
when he
election
was in,
stolen.
yeah, but you just said when he was in office, he was going to build the wall.
He was, and he
But
did
he
build a
didn't
lot of
build the
wall.
wall.
He
Sure did.
did build a lot of the wall. He built miles and miles and miles of wall, but he was challenged at every section he went to. They were trying to stop him from building a wall because the left don't want to build a wall. They want 30 million people to come in this country and ruin this country. That's what the left wants.
Thank you,
Well,
Stephen.
that's your opinion.
That's not my
about what you
opinion.
think
That's
the
not my
left
opinion
wants.
because the left has flown them in here. We have people flying on jets that we fly with. They're not vetted. They don't have to go through the same scrutiny we do.
Where are
They
you
don't give
getting
them an
this from,
anal
Stephen?
exam. They don't give them an anal exam, and they
Stephen,
fly them.
Stephen, where are you getting this from? Wait, before we go
Stacey,
off,
I
let me go
can't help
back.
it if you're not informed. You know where I get it from? It's all out in the ether. Everybody knows this, Stacey.
In the
I can't
dark
help it
web,
if you're not informed.
this.
Everybody knows it,
Everybody does know. Let me continue.
except you.
And we saw this. And Senator Vance, and it surprises me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield.
The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. It is a disgrace.
Okay, so it looks like to me, Stephen, he
Mhm.
is not talking about the issue of him saying that illegal immigrants went to Ohio, they got these jobs, and they were eating their dogs and cats, even though he's a senator of Ohio, Stephen.
No,
He's
nobody
still
just said
saying that.
Nobody said
You just
anything
heard what he
in this
said. Let me
clip.
play this again. Let me play it again. I'm
All
going to play
right.
it again. Listen to this.
Legally in the community of Springfield.
The people that I'm most
Wait a minute.
Me on this, talking about and saying, I will create stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield.
The people that I'm most worried about in Springfield, Ohio, are the American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's open border. It is a disgrace, Tim. And I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
Thank you.
Margaret.
Okay, Stephen. He's
Phone was
talking
calling.
about people who legally came to the United States to get jobs in Springfield, Ohio. His state, these are his citizens because he's a senator of that state. And it's helped, those people came to help the people of
They
Springfield,
didn't. They're
Ohio.
not there
And that's what he
legally.
says.
They're not
They
there
are there.
legally.
They just
It's
said they're there
Stacey,
legally.
it's a loophole. It's a loophole. They're not really there legally. They changed everything around to make them legal. They're not legal in the normal legal sense. They're not. And the people there don't want them there. And nobody wants them there to do any job at all. They don't need them there to do jobs. They're only there to maybe to vote and to help rig the election. That's the only reason they're there. And the jobs that they do take are jobs that people have making $20 an hour. They'll do it for $9 an hour, $7 an hour. It doesn't help the town at all. When the town of 60,000, like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, a town of 60,000 cannot have 20,000 people thrown on top of them. You can't have
Okay.
you can't have a county like that. You can't run a county like that, Stacey. It hurts everybody.
Okay,
That was,
they did
and they
run the
take
county.
care of these.
Okay.
They take care of them, and they don't take care of the American citizens.
Okay, you got to stop.
They give
Stephen.
them
Thank you.
they don't need a job because they give them everything they need, all the money they need, all the food they need, all the education
Can
they
you
need,
stop him
all the
or
health
not?
care they
Because
need.
I believe either
thank
I don't
stop
care
Wait a
what you
him or
minute.
I'm
believe.
leaving.
Just stop, Cousin Todd. Stop. Now,
Okay.
You Gotta Love YouTube says the wall they were still able to get over and around. And then You Gotta Love YouTube says JD Vance is closeted cross-dresser.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm.
Don't go there, girlfriend.
Okay. Now, let
Thank
me
you,
say
Todd.
this. Stacey, don't do that because you've got psychos on this show. And this is how crazy they are. Facts do not matter to them. They don't matter. Now, you just said they are here legally. No, they're not legal, and all that kind of craziness. Now,
That's right.
this is the same nonsense they were saying when I believe he's Irish. This is what they were saying when his people got here. And they called them, I'm not calling you this. This is
You believe
what,
I'm Irish?
yes, I do.
Okay. Look up my. Oh, you don't know my last name. Oh, okay.
Not
If you knew my last
interested.
name, you
I'm
wouldn't
not-
think I was Irish.
I'm not interested. You all look alike. Now, they called the Irish the new niggers. When the
I've
Irish
never
came-
heard that. They've
Oh,
never said that.
God. Oh my gosh.
You're crazy. Would you see
Okay.
it in a Denzel Washington
Shut
movie?
up. Now this
Sorry,
is
Todd. Go
Stacey.
ahead.
This is what I'm talking about, Stacey.
Go
and
ahead,
you
Todd.
just
I'm
sit
sorry.
back and allow this, which makes your show look like Jerry Springer. Now, this is what they called the Irish when they came over here because of the potato famine. He doesn't know anything about history. Anything. That's what they were called. Now you can Google that, Stephen. You can Google that. And so this is the point I'm making. Those people were here legally, just like the Irish came over here legally. And for you to say they don't want them there, well, they didn't want Irish in America either. So what are you people still doing here?
Mhm.
So this is a land where you can come and work. And so these Haitians
And
came
pay
over.
taxes.
But did they give the Irish
And pay
bank
taxes.
cards with $9,000? Did they give them food cards? Did they give them telephones? Did they give them a place to
Where are you
live?
getting this
These
from,
people
Stephen?
don't need a job, Stacy and Todd. They don't need a job. They get everything for free. No, what did they give you for free, Todd and Stacy? Nothing.
Oh, this
You
is
get
how,
nothing for free.
you hear
And you
this? And
cannot
Stacey,
be
you
on the
just laughed,
side of a
but you
government
gotta,
that gives
you
people
can't,
here that are
this show,
legal free
this show
everything when you
is like
get
a joke.
nothing for free. I pay for
This
my
show
health
is
care.
a
I
joke.
pay for my food. I pay my rent. So
You
does
can't
all of
tell him
y'all.
to
But
shut up,
these people that
Stacey.
they're letting
You
into our
can't mute
country
him
aren't
or
paying
get
for
him off the
jack.
show.
You ought to be
Okay,
ashamed of
okay.
yourself,
Hi,
Todd.
Stephen,
Stacey.
Todd, you ought to be
Hi,
ashamed of yourself.
Stacey.
He ought to be
see,
ashamed of
Stephen,
himself. He can't
it
win the
doesn't matter.
argument
We
because
don't
the
have to
argument
pick
is
sides.
that illegal
We don't
people
have to
come to
pick
this
sides,
country,
Stephen, because you
Stacy.
can't, Stephen,
Stacy,
you can't
illegal
do,
people.
Stephen, stop talking. We can't do the show with just one side. We have to have different sides because this is America. America has different views and different sides. That's why we have voters in democratic elections. That's why we are a democracy. So you can't talk
We're a
nonstop and talk over
republic.
him.
We're not a
That was his
democracy.
time to talk.
We're not a democracy. We are a
So let's,
representative republic, a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy.
oh my.
We're not. You really think we're a
rules were
democracy,
that you guys were
Stacy?
going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
We
CBP
wanna
One
have-
app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
But as I read the Minnesota law that you signed into law, the statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is, I think,
That's
whether
not
you're
true.
pro-choice or
That's not how the law
pro-abortion,
is.
that is fundamentally barbaric.
These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the physicians who know best when they need to do this. Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it
But
at all.
what was I wrong
This
about,
was-
Governor? Please tell me, what was I wrong
That is
about?
not the way the law is written. Well, I think all the parents watching tonight, this is your biggest nightmare. Look, I got a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. I 100% believe that Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's not far enough when we know there are things that work.
Tim, first of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's
appreciate
doing
you saying
okay.
so.
Christ have mercy.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Okay. So I want to ask you, Keith, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election? I can't hear you, Keith. You're on mute. We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Okay, I
Did
believe
Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
No, I don't believe he did. But we'll probably not know that. It's going to be maybe years before we know the truth. But I don't believe he did. I just wanted to also say that in the election, what he was calling for, what he was asking for, was for them to check certain states that had changed their laws, their election laws at the last minute, and they changed them unconstitutionally. All he was asking was investigate, was to check that out. Now, Al Gore did something similar back in the Gore-Bush, election, and Gore successfully went to the courts, and they went all through the courts, and of course, the courts decided. All right. So with Trump, they would not even hear the case. No judge in the country would hear it. No Supreme Court, no judge.
Well, that's not true.
Yes,
That's
it
not
is
exactly
true.
true.
It is true.
That's true.
It's true.
It's not true. And what I find interesting now is, Stephen, you're letting Keith talk nonstop. You're not interrupting him. You're not talking over him. You're not hollering. But when I or Todd or Aguna or a guest speaks, you talk all over us, holler and scream. Why is that?
I don't recall doing any of that, Stacy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm getting ready to let someone in right now, and we'll see whether or not
Oh
you do
boy.
that. So
Todd.
while
Because
other
Todd,
people are talking, Stephen, you have to be quiet like you're quiet when Keith talks.
Hey, can I also say something else, Stacy, about I
Yes.
want to go back to something I didn't get a chance to say. The importance of understanding our Constitution here, that immigration laws are up to Congress. Congress determines immigration laws and rules. It's called Uniform Rule of Naturalization, and that is up to Congress, not the president. So you can't determine, a president can't just determine somebody as being here legally when they haven't gone through the course of our laws, when they haven't gone through the proper procedures. They have to
So
go
let me ask you.
by Congress.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Let me ask you: did Donald Trump lose the election in 2020?
Joe Biden became the president in 2020. She had an election in China. It became the head supreme leader. Putin had an election, won 75% or whatever. They had elections. Okay. Who else? The little rocket man. He had an election. I think he got 100% the electorate. It was crazy. Yeah, we all. You know what? You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You just have to be unbiased. You have to look at things objectively and see that where all the rigging that happened. It all happened that way. They are still rigging the election to this day. That's how you know, Stacey. That's how you know, because they're still rigging it today. And with everything that they're doing, all the lawfare, all these fake trials, everything, they put him in jail so he can't run or do anything you can. Or before, they had the FBI had Joe Biden's laptop, but they suppressed all that before the election so that it wouldn't interfere
Joe
with you.
Biden's laptop, wasn't it? Hunter
The
Biden's
boy
laptop or Joe
Biden.
You
Who
said Joe
cares?
Biden.
Who cares if I say Joe Biden? It's the boy Biden. It's a Hunter Biden. Who cares? You know my point. My point is that the FBI suppressed the evidence because they're on the left. The FBI is on the left. They're part of the deep state, the CIA, the people that run it. And Donald Trump said, when I get in there, I'm going to clean all this deep state crap up. And that's why they couldn't let him win. And Stacey, I'm talking.
Steven.
I'm talking. In 2020, they could not let him win.
Just like that.
Steven.
You're going to
No,
stop.
they could.
Hey, Stephen, Stacy.
She don't want the truth.
Stephen, didn't they find
No, you're going to stop
100,000?
because I said
Didn't they
stop.
find
We're going to move
100,000
on.
votes in Arizona? 100,000 people.
Oh, I know, Keith. It was a stolen. They had to steal it from him.
Future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer. Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that.
We have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you.
Okay, so who exactly is he rooting for? I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. Who exactly is he rooting for?
Rooting for his supporters.
Keith or Stephen?
I don't know. Go ahead, Keith. What do you got on that one?
He's rooting for his supporters. That's us. People like me, you.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. That's what he said. That's what he's rooting for. Okay.
I don't know. That was strange. Welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. Oh, we're talking about the Walz-Vance debate and whether or not Donald Trump lost the election in 2020 and how they generally thought the debate went and who Vance is rooting for. Now, I must agree with Vance when he said we have the best country in the world, the most beautiful country in the world. This country is all that. I agree with Vance with that. But your comments on did Trump win the 2020 election?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's somewhat of a trick question because they're trying to get people on the record to admit that he lost, and Republicans, because they know how he might react if they would say differently, they're kind of trying to toe the line. But I guess it's a good gotcha question by the other side, because once that Jack Smith leak dropped, where we got to find out all he was up to during that day, it kind of really exposes how bad January 6th was and what he was willing to do to try to keep power, even though he lost the election. As far as the debate, I don't think people got anything out of it, just to be honest. I think the VP debate was a waste of time. Both sides went up there and gave their spiel, but there was no direct fact checking. Basically, if you were a Trump JD voter, you walked away still as a Trump JD voter. If you were a Kamala voter, Waltz voter, you walked away still the same way. So essentially, the only people who benefited were the networks, the people who paid for ads on those networks, the surrogates, and all of the other people who eat out of the trough of our political kabuki theater. So to me, that VP debate was a waste of time.
Okay, thank you. Let me share this screen with you. I want to talk about New York City Mayor Adams. We're going to move on. New York City Mayor Adams,
Yeah, he's going to jail.
and more
Mhm.
resignations from his
He must have pissed off the
office.
left. He must have pissed off his colleagues.
New indictment of a city official accused of being involved in a scam to collect illegal campaign contributions.
Political reporter Marsha Kramer has the latest now in the ongoing corruption scandals engulfing City Hall.
Mayor Adams with his trademark thumbs up as he walked into a packed press conference at City Hall to deal with the latest developments in a corruption scandal that has taken on the elements of a daily soap opera. First up, announcement that First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright has become the 7th high-ranking member of his administration to resign as 4 federal corruption probes continue to percolate. The mayor admitting that some of the personnel changes may have come from suggestions made by the governor.
I had great conversation with the governor over the weekend. She gave me some of her suggestions. We implemented some of her suggestions.
However, the mayor bristled at the idea that the governor told him outright who to pick to replace Sheena Wright, even as he announced that Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer, the woman who has developed the mayor's housing plan, will replace Wright.
It's a very complex time in our city, but I think that my priorities are very simple. Working with the mayor.
Meanwhile, the feds continued their scorched earth policy in going after corruption at City Hall. Mohammed Bahi, who resigned yesterday as the mayor's liaison to the Muslim community, was charged by the feds with witness tampering and destruction of evidence in connection with an investigation into the unlawful use of straw donors to contribute to the mayor's 2021 election campaign. The mayor was questioned repeatedly about allegations by the feds that Bahi told the businessman involved in collecting the illegal contributions that he had spoken with, quote, official one, believed to be the mayor, and advised the businessman to lie to federal investigators.
I will never instruct anyone to do anything illegal or improper. The only instruction I give people all the time, follow the law.
Now, Bahi was released on $250,000 bond, but despite the latest case, the mayor says he's going to run for re-election. I'll have that part of the story coming up at 6.
Yeah, so Eric Adams was able to sweep into office with this idea of him being a former policeman, giving him some type of credibility. They had a progressive candidate in New York, Maya Wallace. Wiley, I think it was her name.
She's always on MSNBC, Maya Wiley.
Yeah,
I think she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority.
Indeed. But she had some interesting policies and would have been good for New York. But they made the mistake of hiring terrible Eric Adams. So this older person, well, he always was terrible. You never heard anything good about Eric Adams. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
That would be your gang, a policeman. So anyway, this older gentleman who doesn't know very well how to use technology has clearly left a breadcrumb trail of criminality that the feds were able to just follow the dots. And now you see people jumping off the ship. I'd be interested to hear what the New York governor has to say about him trying to throw her name in as if she wants any connection to him. So yeah, he's politically a virus right now. Nobody wants to be near him. And if you shared any text messages or correspondence with him, you may have some questions to answer. So yeah.
Didn't he offer resistance to the illegal immigration that was coming into his city, Stephen?
Yep. Yeah, that's all it is. He pissed off the left. He said, Joe Biden, stop this, close the border, do what you have to do. You're killing us. You're killing all these cities and all these states. You're killing us. We can't maintain this. All the money we have for our people can't go to our people because it's all for the illegals. And they said, this boy has got to be lynched. We got to, he was whistling at a white woman. He ain't done nothing that nobody else has done but whistle at a white woman, and now they got to hang him because he didn't follow. Because he didn't follow. He wasn't a good boy. He wasn't a good boy.
Keith, you're cheering for that? That's a sad state of affairs. But no,
yes, ma'am. I'm listening.
Hold on 1 second, though, Stacey.
No. Stacey's talking. Stacey's talking. Stacey's talking.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Stacey.
So, Stacey, remember, it was Texas and Florida who sent the migrants to New York, causing that problem that they're, I guess, referring to.
Where did the migrants come from? The open border of Joe Biden.
Hold on.
The open border of Joe Biden is where they came.
I'm not having a back and forth with you. I'm making a
because you don't want to talk about.
No,
Steven. Okay, everybody stop. Steven.
Yeah, hey, let him talk.
Steven.
Talk. Let him talk. Shut me up.
Steven, remember when I said earlier, how come it is when Keith talks, you say nothing?
You let them talk over me. You let them talk over me. Keith don't because Keith doesn't talk over me.
I just got here.
So I show him the same respect. They all talk over me. But you don't shut them up. That's cool, Stacey. I know the rules.
He's delusional.
Steven,
he is delusional, and you got him on your show. You're the dumb one. That's you, Stacey.
So
right, you're not going to keep getting me, Todd. You're going to be quiet.
Get him off of your show.
Yeah. So just to finish up. So again, Florida and Texas were sending migrants further up to New York, which caused a problem for them because they couldn't accommodate so many people, which was a problem which Eric Adams, said something about. But he still kept accommodating those people because he got the federal money that he needed to handle it, and that's what happened. Now, the sad part about this is what we found out this week was the majority of that money that was used to fly and bus these people across the country was money from their emergency budget. So right now, in the midst of this hurricane turmoil we have going across this country, and especially in those states, you have somebody like Ron DeSantis. I mean, it's just hard to even call this man what he needs to be called because he's put so many lives at risk by using basically a political stunt to send these people elsewhere instead of deporting them. If you're going to be the tough border guy, then you should have deported them. Why would you send him to another?
How can he deport him? Does he have the power to deport him?
Why do you keep?
I'm asking you, does he have the power to deport these people?
Let him finish.
I mean, why can't you answer me?
Because I don't want to
talk to you.
Sum it up,
please.
You're a moron.
Please.
No, stop talking.
You're incapable of conversation.
Stop talking. So, because of this, they're having budget shortfalls and problems down there with FEMA and everything else with the hurricane. And this goes back to, again, DeSantis and that boy, that shovel mouth bastard in Texas who did this. And then you turn around and find out on social media, the low information, low IQ people whose names I will not call, they get fed information from trolls telling them all of this is because of migrants. They don't want to do the proper research and look at the timeline and understand what actually happened. So because of that, you get, stuff like we just heard a few minutes ago. I'm done.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You are.
So let me move on. Mayor Adams, let me ask you this question. Do you all think that the governor will remove Mayor Adams from office? Or did he keep her from doing that when he made the removal, when he suggested that the removal of him from office would be racially motivated.
Oh,
Well,
did he say that?
What would be the
He
motive
implied it.
for moving him up? I don't know what.
Is it his replacement black? Who's talking about race?
Why would they? Why would they remove him? I mean, I'm just wondering because he was
Because
elected by. He was elected by.
okay. Okay, Keith, did you miss what the whole story was about?
No, I'm saying he was elected by the people. So why? So how is it that they would? I mean, under what law could they remove a governor like that?
A mayor.
I'm sorry, a
Somebody
mayor.
Todd, do you want to tell them why the governor can remove
No,
the
ma'am.
mayor?
No, I do not.
The governor can remove the mayor because he was indicted. A jury indicted him on criminal charges.
He didn't have to
So
go
the
through the
governor
trial
has
just
the
to
right.
be indicted is enough, Stacey, that she can kick
Yes,
him off.
in the state of New York.
Okay. Okay.
States'
Oh,
rights.
that's hardcore. That's a lot of power for the governor.
Sure is. Wow.
Or it's protection from something called Tammany Hall. New York has a history. So because of that, they have preventative measures that other states haven't taken. Sounds like a smart idea when you elect somebody like Eric Adams, who is proven to be a criminal.
I'll just say what Jesus.
They're all criminals.
Okay, thank you for adding that. Oh, I appreciate that. That kind of filled in what I had to say. And what you're saying, Keith, again, I'm sorry.
I would say what Jesus said, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. You remember when de Blasio and all those the other guy was there and how long he stayed in. So.
What does that have to do with criminality?
Yeah. Well,
because some criminals are allowed to be criminals and some are not. They're all most of them are criminals.
Yeah.
But if you're on the right side of the power, you're not going to get beat down. The criminals that piss people off are the ones that get in trouble.
Yeah. Well,
you don't go with the flow. You have to go with the flow or they're going to knock you out.
Todd, maybe you're right about something. Some of this about skin color. I rest my case on that one.
Yeah, but cousin Todd, you're still an American. You still believe in this country. You don't assume that 99% of politicians are criminals or that the world is so dire and dark that everybody is corrupt and they only.
There's good people out there, but there's a lot of corruption.
I'm talking to Todd. You don't.
No, when you got a lot of power and a lot of money, that's a lot of corruption comes with it.
I'm talking to Todd. You don't seem to believe things like that. Does that give you an idea about why one administration is trying to present themselves as the party of joy, while the other one is presenting the world is collapsing and everything is dire?
You think the world's on fire? Where is all this joy?
Sir, I'm talking.
We're on the precipice of World War III. I have so much joy.
Okay, cousin Todd, do you want to answer this, or do you want to just not partake in the show?
No, I'm going to answer Nas, and then I'm not partaking in the show. Because you can't run a show. You've got these psychopaths.
Then, guess what? Don't answer now.
Yeah, Todd is butthurt.
Don't answer Nas then. If you can't answer, if you can only do that and that's it.
Well, I mean,
I
honestly,
refuse to partake in Jerry Springer's show
with just like a sentient YouTube section, because that's basically what we're talking to. Like two brain fried morons who have no idea what they're talking about or why they're saying it. So at a certain point,
you can't argue our points. You can't argue the points that we bring up. You either got to shut us up or scream at us, call us names.
Great analysis. You're a smart man.
Okay, thank you. I want to go to I want to share my screen and go to Israel and Lebanon. Please watch this.
Blows to its command structure over the last fortnight, culminating in the killing of its elusive leader Hassan Nasrallah on Friday. So how did the Israel Defense Forces manage to track him down, and how have they been able to target so many of Hezbollah's top commanders? Well, our security correspondent Frank Gardner has been looking into it. Frank.
Well, targeting the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was a strategic decision by Israel. In hiding for years, he'd long been in Israel's sights. So how did they do it? Israeli intelligence was already widely assumed to be behind the lethal sabotage of all those thousands of Hezbollah's pagers and walkie-talkies. The Mossad, that's Israel's overseas spy agency, is thought to have inserted explosives into the supply chain. Now, that was almost a fortnight ago. What's transpired since then is that Israel's penetration of the Hezbollah command structure goes deeper still. Just have a look at this pyramid here. The Israeli military says that it has assassinated all of these senior Hezbollah commanders. So just how has this Israeli campaign been able to penetrate Hezbollah security so comprehensively?
It certainly looks like something that would have been put together over probably years. It would have been built up from multiple disciplines. So that's signals intelligence, interception of communications, the analysis of imagery, be that satellite or covertly taken photographs, but almost certainly some kind of human intelligence.
Yeah, in other words, spies on the ground. Once the Israelis located Nasrallah, their Air Force F-15 warplanes reportedly dropped 80 bunker-busting bombs. They hit the underground cellar in South Beirut and Dahia, where he was meeting top commanders. So it's clear that Hezbollah's security is deeply compromised by Israeli intelligence. Nasrallah will be replaced, and soon, by someone with similar religious credentials. But it could take years for that new leader to build up a following. And in this climate, time is probably not on his side.
Okay. Let's start with let me ask you, for Israel to be able to target and make such a calculated strike, and to have that type of intelligence to do so, they really, really put a dent in Hezbollah. And like they said, it's going to take them years to build this back up. Israel continued to strike and strike and strike until they were able to accomplish this. What type of intelligence is able to do that?
That would be money and power. That would be their own special interest agencies. That would be the agencies from the West that also help, MI5, the CIA. They share information and they figure things out. But just for anybody out there, just that BBC piece, I think it was BBC, was it?
Yes, it was BBC.
Yeah, that BBC piece we just saw, that's how propaganda works. First, they soft pedaled the terrorism of getting into supply chains and adding weapons to detonate on people, meaning you're going to kill people indiscriminately because you're after a certain hierarchy of their leadership, which is, in any other instance, would be terrorism. And then the idea that even though they were supposedly negotiating and they had some type of ceasefire deal somewhat agreed upon, the fact that they would bomb right after kind of let you know what we're dealing with. But yeah, that BBC piece we just saw, that was disgusting, terrible propaganda straight out of 1984. Winston Smith himself would have laughed watching something like that play out. But you can see how people's minds can easily be tricked by clever and well-crafted propaganda. That was terrible.
Wow.
So, I mean, for him to say it was crafted and what did you say? What propaganda?
Well-crafted propaganda. Well, the BBC has been doing that for a long time. So, I mean, that's nothing.
So for you to say they're well-crafted propaganda doesn't change what actually happened. So, there's a difference.
It really does. Because, again, when we talk about legacy media, the old guard, that's BBC, CNN, all these other places, they got dwindling viewership everywhere. The apps are killing them as far as what people actually listen to and who they go to for news. They don't believe in mainstream news for the most part anymore. So when you see things like this trying to shape opinion, go back and watch that old Chomsky piece about shaping opinion in the country. That's what you saw right there. But the rest of the world just does not agree. The Israelis have gone too far. This is a walking genocide, and it appears we're about to walk into another one. So I'll end there.
Yeah. Wow.
So Keith, go ahead, Keith.
No, I just say I have no idea what he's talking about. But, I'll tell you one thing. That technology is as fascinating and very deadly, very dangerous if they can just explode somebody's cell phone or pager. I mean, just think what all the people that have, cell phones. I mean, it's just think what they could do to us. I mean, but Israel, thank God it's Israel's technology. If Israel had the technology to do what they do, Israel's our ally. And these guys are very intelligent, very good fighters. Just like what's happening in Lebanon, Israel, man, they are kicking butt. And I know that
Okay.
Israel can do the job.
So if you look at the screen, you can see this is aljazeera.com with a live update. A woman is holding the body of a child that was killed today from an Israeli bomb. Stephen, you want to comment on that?
I guess Nas would have liked it better if they just dropped a 10 million pound bomb or maybe a nuclear bomb on them like we did in World War II. Instead of pinpoint the guys, all the guys that had the pagers that blew up or whatever they had afterwards, they had a CB or whatever because they couldn't use phones because they were tracking phones. They were the bad guys. Yesterday, I thought that yesterday, October 7th, there was the anniversary of what happened to start all this when they had a ceasefire. That was the anniversary, and people all over this country went out and protested against the Jews because the left hates the Jews. And if you're a Jew and you vote for the left, you don't have any sense at all. They protest you, they hate you, they terrorize you in your own country in America, and you did nothing wrong. If you're a Jewish college student, you did nothing wrong. You got to fear for your life because of Israel protecting themselves when they were attacked. They put babies in ovens and turned them all the way up and burned them, killed them like that, burned them alive like the Jews were burned alive back when Hitler. You're on the side of Adolf Hitler. Your soul, Nas, is with Adolf Hitler. There's no redemption for you, son. There's nothing good about you, son. You said weeks ago on this show that these kids that are protesting, they're like the kids from the 60s in Vietnam. And they're the kids, they have to be heard. They're so right. Hell no, all these kids are wrong, Nas. You're wrong. You're just a Jew-hating, brainwashed SOB because they are pinpointing everything they do. They are the ones that are trying not to be wiped off. Your side wants to wipe out every Jew. You want to kill every Jew. They don't want to kill anybody. They want to live in peace.
Okay, thank you.
So there's no way they're going to lay down arms. We're going to have a peace. We're going to have peace because they can't. They have to wipe out every person that shares your mindset. They have to wipe every one of them out because you're the enemy of everything that's good because you are evil.
Okay,
they are evil.
Now, Stephen,
if you're anti-Israel, you are evil.
Okay, Stephen, no one interrupted you. They
okay, I'm cool.
No
We're
one
good.
stopped you from talking. Not one person stopped you from talking.
Thank you, Stacey. You're my queen.
I ended your talk because your time is up, but no one interrupted you during your talk. So now
we're on the same page.
We're going to have Cousin Todd, and Cousin Todd is going to give his comment, and this is going to end the show. We're out of time.
I'll mute myself. I'll put my mute on.
This is the worst show I've ever seen. You have psychopaths. It's like the mental patients are running an insane asylum. And you just sit there in a daze, and he sits there grinning like a chess cat or like a shiny-eyed monkey. See? Look at the porch monkey. I see you. And so Stacey loves this. These two boys get together on Stacey's back because I can't. This is ridiculous. And so I got cut off as I was trying to make a point, which I'm not going back into. And Stacey could not tell this psychopath to stop speaking. Stop. Do not speak. You will have your turn to speak. But you're evil. You're evil. And he goes to, you're evil. All that craziness. And he says nothing. And once he learns facts, I'm hoping he'll be ashamed of himself. Just like we said, those Haitians are not illegals. You're conflating the two. They come over the border. They came over the border. and they're giving them money. They're not giving those Haitians any money. That's why the Haitians are here getting a job. I can't. I mean, and talking to dumb, ignorant people wears me out. I've never seen such dumb people. I'm finished. I can't.
Okay.
I cannot.
Nas, did you want to come back, Nas? You left, but did you want to come back and talk about your Dirty Birds of the South and how you guys pulled that game? You pulled away that game by 6 points by 2 field goals. I don't know how you beat them. I watched that Tampa game. Y'all were like the whole game.
Hey, looks like we're pretty good, you know.
That's what you call pretty good?
Kirk O'Banks is handling his business. We look like a refreshed team that the NFC South didn't expect. And the Eagles are hurt, injured, and terrible. And the Phillies lost tonight.
Well, I didn't want to talk about that.
I'm sure.
Because, the Phillies, it's Red October. We wanted to go into New York and we wanted to win both games so we wouldn't have to have those New York people come step their tippy toes back into Pennsylvania.
Hey,
I didn't want to
Nas,
talk about that, but of
let
course
me
you brought
ask
that up.
you if you are aware that when Irish came to America because of the potato famine, they were called the new niggers. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, if anybody wants references on that, just look up When Affirmative Action Was White. Is a really good book. The Idea of Whiteness, another good book you can check out. And you can see that whiteness, again, not a scientific thing, it's an invented thing. So people can either lose or gain their whiteness. So for a period, the Irish, Italian, those people were not considered white.
That's
that didn't come until much later when they would kind of use them as shock troops against Black people during that period. And just to kind of discredit the BBC even more, this is the original media who wrote those newspaper articles way back in the day about the Irish potato famine and presented it as if it was about crop failure when it was actually the British who were shipping out meat, produce, and everything else, and said they didn't want to disrupt the market. That's why they allowed the Irish people to starve. So people should definitely know that about the Irish and their 400-year revolution against British tyranny. Salute to them as well.
That's right. And I only brought that up. I only brought that up because
something we share in common, I guess.
Oh
with
gosh.
white.
So I only brought that up because Stephen was saying they don't want them there. They don't want them here. Yeah, the people, they don't want them taking their jobs. And I was telling him how they didn't want the Irish here taking their jobs. The Irish took police officers' jobs. They didn't want them taking their jobs.
Xenophobia and jingoism are as American as
So how
apple
can
pie.
you attribute that to
we've
racism?
We've seen
they
this.
were white. They were white. So how do you
They
attribute that?
have a town of
We've seen
60,000 people. They brought in 20,000. They didn't have the equivalents in percentage when the Irish
what's the
came
point
over
of doing
here.
the show?
They didn't have a town of
what's the point?
60,000 and then have 20,000 and then have 20,000 Haitians came over. They don't speak the language. They know that does not help any town in America. You cannot help
Okay,
any
thank you.
town in America by doing that. You can only ruin the
thank
country
you.
by doing that. You can't
right,
compare it to the Irish.
Thank you to our first responders in
Like,
our
if people
community.
are
Make our
filibustering
lives
ignorance,
livable.
why even do a show?
To our first responders in our community, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say whatever we choose on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Keith, the constitutional conservative, I got it right this time. Stephen, the independent thinker. Hello, thank you for joining us. And Aguna, the voice of reason, is out of town. And last but not least, my cousin Todd.
We were supposed to talk about religion in the Bible, but that's okay. We'll do it next week.
Yeah, we'll do it next week. Thank you for joining us. I'm Stacey Johnson. Check us out on Stephanie Stallworth's The Flow Television Network. Check us out on X. Check it at Sporlitiks. Check us out on TikTok at sporlitiks.com on TikTok. Check us out on Sporlitiks at YouTube. Like and subscribe. And check us out on Instagram at Sporlitiks and like and follow. I'm Stacey Johnson. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Hey, to my cousin Johnny. Good night.
Good night, Johnny.
So what
This
did you
is
want to
so
say about religion,
embarrassing.
cousin Todd?
Oh, I just wanted to embarrass Keith and Stephen and tell them how to hate is not godlike. When you're
Right.
hating on these immigrants and calling them vermin and all the other things that you and your president calls them,
No.
President Trump, he's your president.
He doesn't call them vermin. He calls the bad guys. He calls the murderers,
Yeah, so
the murderers and the
cousin
rapists.
Todd, you
Yeah.
have a good night. Stacy, you have a good night. The other two, just fuck you.
Thank you. I do want to
Yeah,
say,
go
wait a
to
minute,
hell.
before you go.
No.
Go to
Before you
hell,
go,
boy.
wait a
I know
minute.
where
I
you
do want to say,
Go to hell.
wait a minute, excuse me.
I might
Before you
come
go, I
see
do want
you.
to say
Be
my
careful.
thoughts and prayers to the people in Florida. Please, if your officials are telling you to leave, leave. Because if they're saying they know what's coming, they know what's coming. So you should leave and be safe.
That's a
Go ahead,
wise.
cousin Todd. What were you guys saying?
These and they calls them vermin. He calls them invaders. All of these things that Keith and Stephen pick up on, and they start
Well, they
using
are
those
invaders.
terms. And
We don't hate anybody.
and,
We love we
and
love
so
American people and think they need to be treated right, and they're
shut
not being
up.
treated right.
And so these fake Christians. What about the least of these? You're
Because in the
supposed to
Bible,
treat- shut
you
up,
have
shut up,
nations in the
shut up,
Bible.
shut
If
up.
we don't have a
Do you
nation,
see
if we
this
don't have
idiot
borders,
just
we don't have
walked
a
right over me. This is what an
Yes.
idiot does. This is why I can't do this show with him. I'm telling you, he's got to go. My friends, I am embarrassed. These people
You
are
should be.
intelligent, college educated. They say, "What is happening? Why are you on this show with this
Because you
horse
don't want to.
donkey and that shiny
Why don't we have a
monkey?"
conversation? Why do you need a dialogue? Because
So
you
Stephen,
can't
keep
argue.
Stephen, you can't keep talking over him. I made the point that people were not talking over you during the show.
But
I
what I'm
pointed
saying
that
is
out,
the
and
show is over. Why can't we?
our viewers, it doesn't matter. Our viewers can see, and our viewers saw tonight, Stephen, that no one
Why,
talked over you. Everyone,
why can't?
let me finish, Stephen. I'm going to tell you. Everyone allowed you, Stephen, to talk and to say your point and to finish it. I stopped you, but you didn't let anyone else stop or say their point and complete and finish.
Well, send me the show,
You
and
talked
I'll
over
see
everybody.
if that's true. All right. I'll look at it. But what I'm saying right now is we could be casual. We could have a conversation. If he's saying something that's not
We're
true,
not going
But
to be
it doesn't
casual.
why
matter what he's
can't we
saying is
have?
because we have to give each other that courtesy, whether the show is officially off or on. You have to give the people the courtesy to let them finish their point.
But we could have a
Just like
discussion
they do the
about his
same thing
point.
for you. They do that for you.
But why can't we have a discussion and go back and forth instead of a monologue, like normal
You
people
can.
talk? When me and Keith talk on the phone, we go back and forth. I'm not trying to talk over him. I'm trying to have a discussion with him. And you call it
Okay.
talking over him. It's not. He can't have a discussion because he can't back up his points.
Well, regardless,
No, it's the word is
my father
regardless.
told me. My father
Yeah.
told me it isn't irregardless. He just told me that the other day.
It's regardless, not
But
irregardless. Right.
regardless, we're going to respect everyone, and we're going
I
to
have
let
all the
people finish
respect in the
their
world for
point.
you, Stacey, and him. I'm just saying, this is how we have a dialogue. We can be adults and talk. I'm not trying to talk over anybody.
Okay,
When you
Stacey,
take a breath, I will
can
say
you-
something that I
When you
feel.
tell him this, try to use your words and say, when you get a show, crackpot, you may do it any way you want, but on my show, you will wait until one is finished speaking.
That's-
then you may speak. That's on
Cracker.
my show. Now, if
Cracker
you
Pot.
get a show, you and the shiny-eyed monkey, then you two can have it any way you want.
Well, maybe it could just be a little more interesting, Todd, instead of listening to you
Ma'am,
going blah, 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 blah,
ma'am,
blah, blah, blah,
if you
blah, blah.
want the show interesting,
That's not interesting. You just
ma'am,
drone on.
ma'am, if you want the show interesting, get your boy toy to take his clothes off.
See, that's what it's all about, Stacy. It's all these things in his head, man. We can't help him. He's not mad at me. He's projecting. He said, "Oh, he's crazy. He's crazy." Todd knows he's projecting. And I'm not holding it against you, Todd. Everybody's got their own idiosyncrasies
All right.
and stuff.
So I guess that means a no, then, right?
Yeah. That's a hard no. That's a hard no.
Okay, well, have a boring show then. Just trying to make it more fun.
Good night, everybody. It's good to see everybody.
See you
Glad
next
you're
week.
well.
Good
I'm
night.
glad you're well, Stacy.
Thank you. Good night.
Crazy.